Welcome back, everyone, to Turn to Page. Today, we are very late.
Again.
Yes, again. But I would say good reason because this is a very complicated book to read and I really wanted to take my time on it. So, but yeah, today we are going to talk about Dune. If you're looking at the video, this is a really nice cover. But yeah, that's going to be our main topic for today. But before that, Ale, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. uh, but yeah, and I finally have some books to talk about. The first one I read is The Last Fallen Moon. This is the sequel to the Gifted Clans novel, sequel to Last Fallen Star. And I very much enjoyed the first one. I thought the characters were really funny. I enjoyed the two main characters, which is like Riley and her best friend. Had some drama going on, but the best friend was kind of gone in this second book, sadly. But that's fine because I really liked the other this new character actually that showed up. I think I told you about this one that he came out. He was like, "Oh, wait, hold on, let me get my stuff ready." And he comes out and he has like this leather jacket, and in the back it said "Keybirds," which is a reference to Greece, who's supposed to be T-birds. That's what they are, right? In the movie, yeah, basically, yeah, that's basically him, and he very much tries to talk like Danny. What was his name? Zuko.
Yes.
Danny Zuko in that movie. I thought he was really funny, but he was also really interesting because their connection, I guess you can say, in the book was really interesting. But overall, though, this was for sure better than the second one. I really liked learning more about this culture in particular. I think, what was it? Korean mythology? I don't know much about it, but it was really good. And I mostly just like the world building of it all. This is actually one that I was familiar with actually. Basically she goes to the underworld, and in that underworld, there's sort of like 7, I guess, trials, or in a sense 7 different hells. And I actually knew about it from this one movie. Oh, dang it, I should have looked it up. I can't remember. But it's about the movie is about a guy who died, and he has to go through all like 7 trials and everything. And if he passes them, he gets like hero status or something like that, where he gets to be reborn like right away. It doesn't have to go through
a movie.
Yeah, this is a movie. I saw it on Hulu, but I swear to God, I can't remember the name of it. I can't look it up either. But like I remember watching that movie and I heard about it from a podcast, and they were like, "Oh, I cried so much because of this movie." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm interested," and I cried in this movie because, like I said, he's going through these trials to make sure to know that, figure out if he was like a good person in life, and like the things that he did in his life actually was like got me crying and everything. And so in this one, what they did was they changed. It's no longer like a 7 different hells. It's just sort of 7 different fun attractions, but it's still like really bad and all that. And it was really interesting. Like one of the hells is you get put in cooking oil, like you're burned there. And in the book, it's no longer that. You're just eating a lot of greasy food, like put in the greaser and all that. But like that's your punishment for like 50 years. That's all you have to eat. And you just have to keep ordering. Yeah, and it's like, ooh, okay. And I find that interesting because like it's not violent or anything, but it's still like torture in a sense, you know.
I got heartburn just listening to that.
For sure, right? And then, I mean, what was another one? I know there was one where like you're supposed to get launched like super fast or something, and instead of being launched, you're just in the roller coaster just forever, basically.
I like that. I would like that.
I mean, I don't know. You're just going up and down twirls for the next 50 years. After it can, yeah, okay.
I would take that over the
grease. Yeah. I can't remember the rest of the trials. I know, was it one with the water? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, But yeah, I very much liked what the main character was going through this in this book. She learned that she's basically just a powerful, um, magical person and all that, but she has no idea how to use it, and so she feels useless and everything. And throughout the book, she just kind of learns that it's okay that she doesn't know everything. It's okay that she's not gonna get everything right. She's not perfect, and she just kind of has to roll with the punches whenever things don't go her way. So it was interesting. And then the other book I read was carry this. The Art of Into the Spider Verse. This one I had it many years ago. Finally got around to reading it, and it was good. I mostly just like seeing all the different artworks and everything. And one of my favorite ones seeing is just of the city itself. I mean, they really try to focus on making every single scene feel different, but also really get a focus on lighting. Even if it's like inside a building and everything, they wanted to just get different colors into this place and all that. I can't remember anything standing out about that book. So I was just like, oh wow, this is really interesting. I know that happened with me when I first read The Art of Klaus, which is the animated Christmas movie on Netflix. That was really, really good. But this one not so much. Like I said, it was just the artwork of the city that looked fucking beautiful. But yeah, Ale, did you read anything?
No.
Okay, we failed. Okay.
Okay. You were technically supposed to talk about these books last time, so technically
I got
you
too
didn't either.
I got too excited about talking about Percy Jackson, so I have an excuse. Anyway, let's get on with the book. Your thoughts?
I loved it. I thought it was really cool. I feel like we didn't really talk about it with each other because I think we were waiting to talk about it here.
Yeah.
But like the parts that we did, it was just because we couldn't like hold it in. But it was really cool. I loved like obviously we watched the movie first and stuff, and I think I enjoyed the differences and like the relationships in the book were very interesting to read. It does give you, I think, more context to obviously to the movie, which is always fun. There are differences, a lot of big differences.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it was really cool, and like the way that the book is like written is super interesting. And yes, it took us a long time to read, but it wasn't because it wasn't bad or because it was bad or anything. It was just, I think we were just trying to soak up everything.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like I didn't want it to end. Like I could have kept reading more.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it got to the end, I was just kind of like, wait, that's it. But I want to know more.
Yeah.
The world building is really cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because I feel like this past month has been a very big Dune month. So it's been fun to kind of do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I forgot to mention we were supposed to do this before the second part of the Dune movie came out, but we failed. And like you mentioned, it's not because we took a while reading this book, not because it was bad, but because we just were really fixated on every single word of this book. And it really is fantastic. I loved every single dialogue.
You annotated the book, which
I mean, I did, but these aren't really important. I don't know. Like it's not. I'm not. It's not.
I mean, but they mean something.
Yeah, like I don't think I'm gonna bring most of these up on this, but honestly, I can remember much. Yeah, yeah. Most of these I'm probably not gonna bring up. It's just I just found them interesting. I love the writing on it and all that, especially on certain pieces of information that we got. I'll get to that. Maybe one thing on the spoiler part of this. But yeah, like I said, um, the dialogue is absolutely fantastic. I really love the details about the world and all that, and it's definitely a good book to read after watching the movies for sure. Especially because Peter mentioned it. This book does not hold your hand. It gives you a whole bunch of information with very little explanation. Honestly, I think the only big explanation stuff is just how the worms work, how the world of Arrakis works, but everything else, like outside of the world, just there's no explanation. you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I mean, I don't really need that kind of those kinds of details, and you can kind of figure it out through people's dialogues, through their own thoughts and everything.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why this is a good thing to read after the movies is because you get more. You just get more of it, and it can be debatable as to like what should have been kept in, what was good at keeping out. But I think overall, oh boy, Villeneuve uh, did a fantastic job adapting this book, especially for such a complicated book.
Yeah, like the themes I really like. I think I said this to you when we first started reading it. The fact that he was able to do what he did in the movies
Mhm.
with what was written, and I think like him being able to portray the themes and um the meaning behind this book and stuff like that so well
Mhm.
is really impressive because like it's a hard book, and I understand people like not vibing with it.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult. Like
Mhm.
we've done books on here that, we couldn't connect to
Mhm.
and stuff. So like I understand that. Um, but at least for me, the case is not that. With this book, with these movies, I
Yeah.
just find it so interesting. Um,
And I mean, what helped was watching the first part of the movie
yeah.
when starting this book, because I have one book here actually on, like right behind me. What's it called? The Blade itself. That one's like a big, heavy fantasy world book and all that, and you are sort of it's sort of the same thing as in the Doom book, where like you're getting a whole bunch of people's perspectives and all that. You are hearing their thoughts, and it was really it's really hard for me to getting into that book. And I mean, a part of it's because you're seeing so many people's thoughts on it, and it's like hard to keep up. Like, okay, wait, hold on, who's this person again? Like, what were you thinking? Okay, why is this important? Okay, and then it was hard for me to figure it out.
Mhm.
But then,
And I was like very nervous to read it because I've
mhm,
never read like a sci-fi book. Fantasy and sci-fi are things I don't
mhm.
tend to
Well,
go for because it's kind of hard.
yeah, I mean, your
Like,
type of fantasy though is like the ones connected to like the real world. Basically, like those are the ones that you kind of read.
what
Like
do you mean?
like you don't read like hard fantasy where it's just like a completely different world like that's separate from
Yeah,
ours. Like no,
yeah,
you read the Harry Potter books, but that's still connected to ours in a sense.
yeah,
Twilight, I don't know how many more can
yeah.
name, but
It's
basically,
not a lot because it's hard. Like,
yeah.
I feel super like intimidated
Hmm.
by them. Like, I wish I was one of those people because obviously more stories the better, but like
Hmm.
it is intimidating. And so
For
going
sure.
into this, I was kind of like, ooh, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I'm excited, but I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And I really thought that I was gonna have a hard time with it. But I really didn't.
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, you're right. Like part of it was because we did see the movie, so we had like more
We have a lot more
context. Yeah.
context, more knowledge of it. And I remember one fantasy book I read that was like, hard fantasy, takes place in a completely different world, was The Name of the Wind. That one though, I was listening to the audiobook, so like it was a lot easier for me to get into that world and all that and pay attention to the little things. And it's fantastic. The thing though is that that book just it's from one person's perspective. Again, this book is from both Dune and the Blade itself are from many different people's perspectives, and with the Blade itself, it was hard for me to get into. But
Yeah,
I
like
think
the
now.
Game of Thrones. Well, I mean, I guess I could compare Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. Lord of the Rings, I absolutely could not get into it at
Hmm.
all. Like
we
nothing at all. Game of Thrones, I have not finished it, but I think because it's told from different perspectives, which I enjoy that type of writing a lot.
mhm.
Um, it's like a lot easier for me to read and to understand.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
for me it was the opposite, but because of this book now, and again, yeah, watching the movie, I think I have like a lot more appreciation of these types of books where it's from different people's perspectives. So I really want to get back into reading the Blade itself, and maybe I can like finally focus more on like what's going on within
Mhm.
that book. So yeah, I'm excited, and I really love this book. um,
Yes.
okay, I think we can get to spoilers now. Um, oh my gosh, where do we start? I mean, the first part. I mean, the book is cut into three parts. So obviously, first part of it, I think the first part is my favorite part because I love the fact that there is a mystery going on, but we already know.
Yeah.
We know what's gonna happen. We know what's going to lead to, and not just because we've seen the movie, but because like the book literally tells you from the very beginning, like this person's going to betray them.
Yeah.
Doctor
Yeah.
Yue is going to betray the Duke, and you're just kind of like, is he gonna figure it out? Is he gonna stop it or anything like that? I mean, again, obviously we saw the movies, but like I just, it was still intense though. It's like, man,
I'm
like
sorry.
how
That was loud.
that's fine. Like how would he figure it out in like if in this
Mhm.
scenario, or like how does he get away with it? Especially because I don't know how I didn't know the differences between the movie and the books on this, so I was kind of like, okay, what's going to surprise me on this?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the first part is definitely like the closest to like the movie
Hmm.
side. But I really like the first part too, but it's because it of how it shows the relationships between all these people
Hmm.
and their dynamics. Like the one that really really stood out to me um was the parents. Um what's it, Leto and
I just say Duke and Jessica.
Duke and Jessica. Not that you didn't get that they like truly loved each other in the
Hmm.
movie, because I think that you do, and they do portray that well. But like, I feel like you get more
For sure.
in the book, which I enjoyed, and I thought
Hmm.
it was sweet. And I
Yeah, yeah.
feel like, um, you kind of like I wouldn't say understand the progression of the rest of the book, but you obviously like you understand her and why she did the things that she did and stuff.
Hmm.
Um and I mean it's the whole like tragedy of it all, right? Like you get this like family who truly like, and you don't, I feel like you don't get that a lot. Like at least in books, that they truly like care for each other, like all three of them.
Hmm.
And you understand that this the Duke is like a good person,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so yeah,
No.
I really like that.
Yeah, I think the Duke is probably my favorite character in this entire book, just because of how much of a good man he is. I mean, I love the moment. Um, Basically, like Duke, Jessica, and Paul, because they're like royalty in this world and all that, they have to be in a certain mind state all the time in front of people. They can't lose their cool or
Hmm.
anything like that. And one of my favorite
Like everything
moments,
is really strategic.
strategic for sure. And this one moment, even by himself, he doesn't want to like lose his cool. But I love that moment though. It was after Paul was attacked by the little
Hmm.
drum thing, and he's just starting to think of like, I'm like, okay, I got to think about this. I got to think about I got to worry about the spies. I got to worry about the people. I got to worry about this. But then in every single moment, he's always like, they try to take my son away. Like they try to
Yeah.
kill my
Uh
son.
huh.
Like he just like, it keeps popping up in his mind
Yeah.
and all that. And it's just a struggle for him because again, he has to keep his cool. And in that moment though, where he does kind of lose his cool, it was right before the dinner, and he sees people, or like there are people like right outside his palace of sorts and everything, And I guess one thing they do is just they sort of like drop the water in front of them just to have them like beg for it and all that. And he's just like, fuck no. We're getting rid of this now. Hey, get these jars and just give it to the people now. And then, like even the maid was just kind of like, what? And it's like, yeah, do it now. I don't care. And so like I loved him. He was absolutely
Yeah, I do
fantastic.
too.
Hmm.
Which,
And
it adds on to just like the tragedy of everything
for
and
sure.
like how much things turned.
Hmm. And especially like tragedy of it all because you understand why everyone else is so loyal to him because he is such a good guy. And especially, I mean, that moment when he goes to the factory thing and he's trying to convince the what's the person's name? Person of change. Do you remember that? The one that's
Oh, I always forget.
yeah.
But yes, I know.
Hmm.
Um, like
Basically,
the person who's like in charge of overlooking the
transition between
uh-huh.
Iraq. Oh no, not Iraq. It's
Harkin
Harkonnen's
uh-huh.
Harkonnen to Atreides and all that. So he's trying to convince him, like, hey, I'm a good person here and all that. Especially because the person of change, whatever, um, is pretty loyal to Arrakis and all that. And so even though it's technically strategic that he does this, where he's like, forget the factory, just get everyone out and all that, save their lives and everything. It's technically strategic, but he also does mean it. He also is like, I don't want to lose people. Like I'm trying, the people who are working here are the people that I'm trying to like get on my side and all that.
Yeah.
And so I want to help them out.
Mhm.
Oof.
And then it's I felt it also, not that the movie wasn't like intense, but I felt more tension in the book because we got to hear everybody's like thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So like when it came to the doctor and like that conversation that he has with Jessica, um when he thinks that he got caught
Mm-hmm.
and she's like totally different or thinking like a different thing, and in your head, you're kind of like, does she know? Like,
Mm-hmm. It's
is she playing with him? What's happening?
yeah.
So yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm. No, especially it's funny after their conversation. The to me actually the whole time in their conversation, I was like, oh, okay, she doesn't know like what's going on and everything. Like she doesn't know what's going on in his head. But then after the conversation, she's like, he's hiding something. And it's like, wait, what the heck
Yeah.
you knew? but she knew he's hiding something, but she just assumed it was something else, which is
Hmm.
more interesting to me because like, oh dang, UA like tricked her and all that. Like
Yeah.
his plan actually worked to make her lead into something else. That was so cool. Um,
That moment like really stood out to me.
mm-hmm, for sure. And again, also it's really cool reading this um after watching the movies, but then also rewatching the movies after reading this because I love seeing little details within the movie that I'm like, oh, I think you like. So I'll just bring up one example in the movie, and I brought it up to you when we rewatched it, but it was when Jessica was looking at maids. I can't remember her name, the person's name. But she was looking at different maids, and the one that she was talking to, she was like, "Hey, I know there's a blade. I know you're hiding a blade. Take it out and all that." And so the lady like takes it out, shows it to her, and she asks her like, what this is? And Jessica goes, "It's a maker." But then the lady just interrupts her like as soon as she says maker, and she goes like, "Oh my god!" And she says, "It's a maker." Ooh, I forgot what the lady said. Ooh, I can't remember, but it was she said something else. But in Jessica's mind, she was going to say "maker of death," but the lady said something completely different. And so in the movie, you see her say "maker," and she's going to say something else, but then the lady interrupts her, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." Like you got that detail from the book and everything. And it's like I don't know. I really hope people knew exactly what I was talking about. But if you watch the movie, you know what I am talking about. It was really interesting for me watching that moment for sure. There was another one, but I can't remember. I feel like it had something to do with Paul. No, I can't remember. Oh, I had it in my mind earlier. Oh well. But yeah, I mean, I can go on and on about different conversations. As Jessica and Hawa. This was
That
after.
one, yeah.
This was.
I feel like that was. I mean, I guess now, like looking at both parts of the movies, but because obviously, like he doesn't come out in the second one, but
Mm-hmm.
that relationship is so interesting, and even with uh Thanos,
Mm. No, no, Gurney.
Gurney, like their relationship to Jessica and how they feel towards her and stuff, all of that is like super interesting because
Mm-hmm.
um again, with themselves, they're this like loving family, but to everybody else on the outside, again, everything was very strategic, everything was very like, you know by the book. So not a lot of people were able to understand why like the Duke was with this person.
Mm-hmm.
um and so that conversation with, um I can't pronounce his name, Hawa,
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
and Lady Jessica was like super intense.
mm-hmm, for sure, especially because they were both ready, like
Yeah.
attack at any moment. So it was great.
And even the Gurney one, I thought the Gurney one was like so cool, and I even told you like I wish that would have been in the movies.
Honestly, like the more I was thinking about it, the more I think about it, I understand why he didn't put that conversation between Jessica and Hawa, but he probably could have put in Gurney in that place, and then we could have had that moment.
No, yeah,
Them.
yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. Like the end conversation.
No, no, no,
Um.
no. I know, but like I said, like I understand why taking out Jessica and Hawa in the movie,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but I would have really loved that conversation between Jessica and Gurney at the end, the one that you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one way he could put it in was have that Jessica Hawa conversation, but have Gurney take
Gurney in there.
Hawa's pilot, take Hawa's place and all that, so
Mm-hmm.
that he could have been.
Because that, yeah, like somehow have that dynamic in the
Mm-hmm,
movie, like
for
because
sure.
that's really interesting. Because you also like, I feel like in the movie, um, it's very much like that the Bene Gesserit are like these like mythical beings, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
um, but people just accept them. But like that's not really the
Yeah.
case. At least in the books,
Mm-hmm.
like yes, there are people with power, um, but they're like not accepted.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, especially their power specifically is like
Yeah.
completely different from everyone else's, and no one even knows. Yeah, I think it would have been cool to just have that dynamic of everyone respects Jessica, but they don't trust her,
Yeah.
and they have to respect her because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
she's the Duke's. What do they call her? Concubine.
Person. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
they say
don't know.
concubine basically, but that last line though. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Uh huh.
And then I mean another one. I think last conversation we'll bring up, but the one with Paul and the Duke, uh, where he's trying to like teach him how to like how the whole politics work and everything. But that moment though, where he was like, "I want you to know something. People think your mom's gonna be the traitor, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not her. I know it's not her, but I'm gonna play along as it is her." She's like, "What are you telling me this?" It's like, because if something does happen to me, you need to tell her. Like, I never once distrusted her. I never thought once that she was going to be the traitor.
Okay. Pause.
So yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, it was basically this mystery that we already knew the mystery of towards the end, but it was still very, very intense and just absolutely fantastic. And when we after that, basically it's just the whole betrayal of it all. Duke dies, and we have Jessica and Paul in the desert, and they're just trying to survive, hopefully get some help and all that. Um, Pretty much everything you see in the movie, in the first part of the movie, like it really was
Yeah.
in the book. In the book, basically, just a whole bunch of conversation was taken out and everything. But when we get, well, I mean, my favorite moments in the second part of the book, I mean, is Paul and Jessica just kind of admiring the planet because they're just like
Yeah.
traveling around everywhere, but they're all kind of like, man, the heat sucks, but like there's actually like some kind of beauty to this world and all that. And there's
Yeah.
also, I really liked this one moment actually in the first part. Jessica had this like green room in a sense to herself, and she was having this conversation. I think it was with Dr. Yue, and she was also like, "What is up with this world?" Because like it's super hot here, but there's life. Like there's literal life here that really shouldn't be. How like what is the mystery of this place and all that? And they kind of like within that mystery, they're also kind of seeing beauty of it. Like it's unexplainable, but they also but they love it.
Yeah.
So those are interesting parts in the beginning of the second part. Once we get to the Fremen. I gotta mention this. I really thought it was Freeman in the book. What the heck? But no, yeah, it was rewatching the
I'm
movie.
glad that I listened to the audiobook because I would not have known how to
Or
pronounce half of these words.
Quizak Tatarak. Oh my god, I would have just been like Quiz.
I think honestly, when I read fantasy books, I think that's what takes me out.
Oh, for sure.
That I don't know how to pronounce, like, what should be the right way to pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm reading it, I'm like, this word,
Yeah.
this word, this
Mm-hmm.
word, right? So I'm glad that I listened to the audiobook because I would not. I don't think I would have connected to it as much as I had.
In The Name of the Wind, on the 10th anniversary book of it, behind it, it's just a whole bunch of pages just telling you how to pronounce certain things. And the main character's name is spelled Kvothe. Just try to say it.
I don't want to.
Just try it. Come on. Kvothe.
What?
It's Kavoth.
I was close. That wasn't that bad.
I don't know. You said cloth, basically.
I said cloth.
It's still, it sounded like cloth.
But it wasn't.
Yeah. But yeah, it's Kavoth. And actually, like right before you get to that page, the author writes this little note saying, like, I really don't care how you guys pronounce it. Like, it's perfectly fine, but I'm just going to add this. So, if you want to say it properly, I guess you can use it and all that. But yeah, that's definitely a struggle with everyone, certain fantasy books. And oh my gosh, I mean, there's a whole bunch of.
Actually, every time a word would come out, I would like think of you and be like, "How is he pronouncing this?" Like,
no, for sure. I mean, the stand up for me just quiz that Tadek. And I think in the movie though, they kind of like put more emphasis on the H. I think because it's like quiz that's basically. It's so funny. I mean, I wish I could stumble just on a random page, have the random moment, but yeah, it's gonna be hard to do. It's only but when they meet the Fremen though, it's when it gets super interesting. Especially another conversation. I love the conversations. Jessica and Stilgar, their first interaction. I loved it because they are just trying to assess each other. Like, all right, we're in this now. And at first, Stilgar was just like, just kill them. But then Jessica took him down, and he's just like, what the hell? Basically, he's like, oh, okay, you're a badass. I guess
you're a badass.
Yeah. So he's trying to take advantage of that. It's like, okay, so clearly you guys got skills. We'll see if we can make something work here. But she's trying to go like, okay, are they gonna turn on us on any moment? Like, what can I do? Like, make this partnership work and everything. So like, it was just really interesting, their conversation. And I love the moment though where she's kind of like, I really hope he's not proposing marriage here because that's gonna be weird. But like, she's willing to do it though. if that's what she has to do, she was actually like willing to do it. Yeah. Luckily, those still.
I mean, they were on super survival mode. 100%. One thing that you kind of skipped over, that I thought was like super cool, or interesting, which we do get in the books, when they're in the tent, Paul and Jessica, and Paul basically like goes off on Jessica. There's like a thing that he said that stood out to me that I don't believe he said in the movies, But he's basically like, you guys made me this way.
I think the book made it more tragic
Yeah.
than the movies, because in the movies he does bring it up, but he's more so furious about it because
Yeah.
he's
And
like,
here he's just like, fuck. Like,
yeah, like I'm so screwed, especially because that in that moment actually they realize they can never really leave the planet.
yeah. Hmm.
Because now that the spices everywhere on them, they kind of
Are stuck there.
yeah, I mean they can like take a, you know, big chunk of spice with them and all that, and they can live off of that, but in a sense though they're not stuck with the spice, they have to be
Hmm.
in it all the time. But yeah, and also I completely skipped over it. I forgot. But when they find out when the Duke is dead, though,
Yeah.
he is trying to like, okay, I still gotta come up with a plan, though. Like I'm in charge basically, and I gotta think through some things. And he figures it out. Like, okay, the Emperor clearly betrayed us and all that. He's the one that made this attack. Um, um, we just gotta get to the Fremen. Hopefully I can convince him and all that, blah blah blah. Basically, like he's just planning out every single thing, the rest of the book, and all that.
Yeah.
And I love the moment though, at the very end when he's just, where he's like, okay, now that I got a plan, I can warn my dad now, and then he
Yeah.
does. That was really cool. And I think the whole time though, Jessica was just kind of like, "Are you not gonna cry about your dad? Like, what are we
Uh-huh.
doing here?" Like, I like how she was the one that, doing that. You
Because
think?
in the books he doesn't do that. Sorry, in the movies they
Um,
just kind of
it's very quick,
move on.
basically. It's
But that's what I mean. Like it's I like that whole part. Because I think, well, yeah, that's where I think he finds out that she's pregnant, right?
Mm, I think so. That was the moment.
Uh
That's also
huh.
the part where they find out she's a Harkonnen.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Yeah, it was in
That was
the.
another part that stood out to me.
Mhm.
Um.
We got a
But
couple of
yeah.
things by surprise before watching the second movie, so it was really
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah. I mean, because that's another thing that I was gonna say. The book is kind of, it doesn't go in the order that the movie goes,
Weirdly,
because it's like everything is kind of happening at once.
mhm,
So it's not like this happened one day, this happened the next day. No, like everything is happening at once. So we're getting everything at once.
mhm,
Um in the movies it's just a little bit more structured.
for sure, way better structured. um, sorry, I had to burp.
Okay.
Um, but then yeah, we get into the Fremen world, their culture and everything, and it just I it was very stressful figuring it out because both Paul and Jessica had to, or were like on thin ice with them, and they
Yes.
were very scared that they were gonna like piss them off at any point and all that. But um, what was I mean, the only one that I can like remember the most is when this was after Jami's his death, and they got his water, and he's just like, and Paul had to be the one to carry it,
Hmm.
but he was just like, I mean, I don't know how to carry someone's water and all that. So can you hold it? And he hands it to Chani, and she's just kind of like, what? Like you're passing it to me and all that. And he realizes, hold on, water's really important here. And I just gave her some. Did they think I just kind of proposed? Like he legit thought like, oh shoot, is giving someone's water like a
Yeah.
proposal in a sense? Oh dang it! Like I really don't want to do this.
Yeah.
It was so funny, like the little bits and pieces that they try to pick up every once in a while. But oh man, what can we go to in their culture? It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like something like that was kind of done in the first part of the movies, where uh Stilgard goes and sees them for the first time and meets the Duke, and he spits,
Yeah,
and everybody's like on the attack,
yeah, yeah,
but that's like a sign of respect.
yeah.
So I like that they did include that. It would have been cool to see like more
Mhm.
moments like that.
Um, One actually detail I remember now. This is another scene that it's a little detail that they added in the movie, but they don't actually explain it. So in the first part of the movie, they when they attack Jessica and Paul out in the desert, they take out their blades and everything. And then once they realize like, oh, okay, Jessica's a badass, hold up, let's give them a chance. All the ones that like took out their blades, they in the movie they sort of like cut their on top of the top of their wrists and all that, and then put the blades away. In the book, they explain that whenever they take out the blade, especially a Chris knife, it has to draw blood in order to be put back in, basically, you know. And so
Mhm.
that was a neat detail in the movie where that's why they cut themselves because like it has to draw blood, even if it's their own and all that. So that was a really interesting detail. Oh boy, what else? Yeah, you mentioned spit. They take the water. I mean,
There's a lot. There's
yeah,
again, the world building is
I think.
a
Well,
lot.
yeah. I think another one that I found super funny, basically because Paul killed Jamis, he now has to take on his wife, Jamis's wife, and his kids too.
Yeah,
And I was like,
I thought it was
oh
just the wife
no,
because
yeah,
I had heard that of that happening, but I
mm-hmm,
thought it was. I didn't realize it was the kids too.
mm-hmm, for sure. And man, that whole scene was just like insane for me. But I love. Ooh, let's see if I can find it real quick. This is actually one note I did put. Basically, no, that's not it. When he paused getting told all this, he's just kind of like freaking out a bit because he's like, I don't want to marry someone.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to like just have her force her to marry me or anything like that. And we get this detail. Turn to page 364 if you know. If you have this book specifically, it's a leather bound one that I got on Barnes and Noble. You could have a year to change your decision. After that, she's a free woman to choose as she wishes, or you could free her to choose her for herself at any time. But she's your responsibility no matter what for 1 year, and you always share some responsibility for the sons of Jamis. That little detail in the book, like, I was so relieved because I was like, oh man, I would not want to take on this responsibility for sure. But luckily, though, she gets to choose later on. Like, if she wants to be with someone else, that's perfectly fine. But it was funny though because he's just like, okay, then I don't want to marry her. Like, it's just she could be my
Yeah, he's
servant, I
like
guess. And she's just like, but I'm young enough. Come on.
all offended.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. Uh, but I actually like though later on that she does basically become family. Um, when Paul's sister, uh, was it Aaliyah?
Um, I forgot her name.
Nah, I should look this one up. Hold up, because I'm thinking
Kind of
Aaliyah.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I have a lot to say. I mean, not a lot, but it's just she's a hilarious character to me.
Yeah.
Dune Paul's sister, Aaliyah. I was right. Yeah. Oh. Well, yeah. When after Aaliyah is born, it was Jamis's wife. Basically, just kind of take her in as like a daughter of her own because she always takes care of her and everything. So I like that detail. She's always had her own freedom. Obviously, there was no way Paul was ever going to be like, like, yeah, you do whatever I say and all that. But she does basically become family. So it was really cool. That's neat. Man, I feel like I know we're skipping over a lot, but I just.
It's a big book.
Mm-hmm.
I mean.
Mm. So at some point, basically, I mean, yeah, that was basically the whole second part of the book. It was just them living in the desert and learning about the Fremen culture. Third book is basically the second part of the book, or of the movie, where we finally go into more of their warrior ways in a sense. Oh, actually, hold on. I'll bring this up. In the second part of the book, it was very fast how he became part of the Fremen. In the movie, he basically like did a whole bunch of trials first and then was basically Fremen. But in this one though,
Yeah.
he just killed Jamis and he's like, all right, you're one of us now. And it's like, oh, okay. I guess. Okay, so before we get more into the main plot of it all, I think we should just get into like the meaning behind this book, which is just like religion's not that good. There's complications when it comes to that, and I feel like y'all should question it every once in a while, you know. So basically we find out that like the Bene Gesserit set up well, there is like a prophecy that's sort of real that's going to take place in this world where someone from the outside comes to this world and brings back a green paradise and all that. And uh Paul is very questionable about it. He's like, I don't want to be their messiah, basically. And but literally everything that happens in the prophecy is just coming true. You will know of your ways as if he's lived it before, or something like that. He will be the son of a Bene Gesserit who becomes something mother,
Uh, Reverend Mother.
Reverend Mother, and everything. Yeah, and so just all these other things that keep happening like over and over. That's part of the prophecy, and you can't help just be like, bro, I think you're part of the prophecy. I think you're gonna help these people. But I think the movie did a better job of portraying him as a villain.
Especially in the end.
Especially at the end. I mean, oh my gosh. The
I
movie.
mean, there's a reason why there needed to be another book.
Yeah. And that's actually one thing I was trying to get into. It's like, okay, how come people didn't get it on this book? And I mean, the only thing I can think of is that they added more tragedies with his character. I mean, for one thing, so in the third part of the book, years have passed, a couple of years, maybe 3 or 5, I think. And he has a son with Chani, but the son dies. We literally don't even see them, honestly, which is almost like, yeah, take that out of the movie. But that's one thing I would say that's one thing why people thought he was a good guy, is because he had like a tragic story, that we can like, connect to and everything. And so,
which I mean, I guess is like part of, like, I understand what the author was trying to do, because even you saying that, like, you can't help but feel bad for him, right?
Yeah.
Even us like thinking that or saying that is kind of like part of it, of like, I'm like falling for it too, you know what I mean? So, but
I don't think he needed that though. Like, part of the reason why I was falling for it was because of the prophecies that were becoming true. That I'm just kind of like, I just can't help but look at it like, I think you're gonna like save these people, man. Like,
yeah.
If someone saw the feature and said like these were like the signs, like, yeah, I'm gonna believe it. And actually, one thing I found interesting though is that Paul was the one that's getting the prophecies right, but Jessica was sort of like fucking up on her part on the prophecies. Like I said, when she was talking to that maid, the one that like showed her the blade, she was supposed to say, she wanted to say maker of death, but the lady completely interrupted her and said something completely different, because part of the prophecies is that she's supposed to know a lot of their ways and all that, but she really didn't. Like, she got very lucky, especially in the first conversation between her and Stilgar. She was just kind of like, okay, I gotta like say the right things here, like make them believe that we're their messiah. And I don't know how they explained it exactly. Some kind of Bene Gesserit magic where she was just like able to unlock like deep parts of her memory, and she was able to say the right things, and they're like, oh my gosh, she knows our ways and all that, basically. So like for her, she had a harder time of like proving herself to these people, whereas with Paul though, it just somehow came naturally. Like he just somehow knew. And so like, yeah, I can understand why these people wanted to follow him, but in terms of like the author wanting to portray him as a villain though, I think he kind of screwed up on some moments. Like killing off his son and all that. What I loved in the movie is after he drinks the Gatorade, that's when he becomes the villain. And I love the portrayal of it, because he's wearing like a grayish white cloak the entire time, but then as soon as he drinks it, it's a black cloak. And like even everything around him is like darker. I mean, that moment afterwards when he's walking back to he's gonna like speak in front of the people, the sand looks black, and you see just like the silhouette of the worm coming out of the background. Like, it's very much just like Star Wars. Like, might as well put the Emperor theme in there, But like, I love the way they portrayed him. And then his fucking speech. Um, when he convinces everyone to join his side and all that. It is tragic. It is kind of like you're taking advantage of them, man. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck?
It's very like,
Hmm.
I don't know if I like you anymore.
Yeah, it's whereas with this one though, I think like his little speech was more so how do I say it? Like he wasn't like building him up or anything like that. He was just sort of like stating facts in a sense. It's just like,
Hmm.
it's like, oh, you guys want to do this on your way, but like that just like he had to kill Stilgar in order to like speak freely and all that. And he's like, and in the book he goes, I'm not gonna kill him because he's the best of us. I'm not gonna, It's like to me, it's like he's speaking plainly to them with facts and everything.
Yeah.
And so I would say the biggest thing though with the books is he is
It kind of felt like they had a choice.
true.
Whereas, like, in the movie, it's very much like,
If you don't join me, you will die, basically.
yes.
And not in like he's gonna kill them all or anything, but it's
Hmm.
like, no, you don't have a choice. I'm your messiah,
Uh
basically.
huh. Hmm.
And that's how it is in the movie. Whereas with this one, he is trying to like convince him, pretend that he is giving them a choice.
Hmm.
Yeah, you said it better. Um so yeah, it's just this is an insane story to tell. Wow.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. I love just kind of like I said, the way he tried to convince me or everyone basically of how he might be a messiah. He might
Hmm.
actually be the one. So those moments were great. And then, so yeah, getting back to the plot of it, we mentioned in the beginning the whole Jessica and Gurney conversation, but we didn't go into detail as to what it was exactly. Basically, Gurney thought,
Also, sorry,
hmm,
going back to the theme, it's not just, criticizing religion and stuff. It's also criticizing, or um implementing, like, t- taking over people, and
hmm.
these very political terms that I'm sure a lot of people know by now. It's criticizing all of
Yeah.
these things. And I see this book as more of like a warning, kind
Hmm.
of, or yeah, like a warning, just like, like, these things are out there and very real, and
We can all be easily manipulated and all that.
yes.
Best to, I mean, in the sense, like, take stuff into your own hands. Don't rely on others to like help you get out of certain situations.
Yes.
Actually, I do have another quote here that I found interesting. Let me see if I can find it. This was actually one with the person of change when he was about to die, and he keeps seeing like a hallucination of his dad. And there was a line that he says that I found really interesting. I did not mark the page, so sorry about that. And I lost my image, and it's on the screen. Sorry about that too. It was a cool image. um, but the quote I was trying to get is basically the person who changed dad telling him that the concept of a hero is the most dangerous thing, especially in this book where Paul is their hero, and he literally tells him, break all your rules, break all your traditions and everything so we can stop the Harkonnens. And at first, for that moment, I guess you can say it's like, yeah, it's fine because they're trying to get rid of people from their own world. They want their world back and everything. But then it leads to him telling them, okay, now let's fight the other worlds, basically. It's like whoever stands in our way and all that. And so, yeah, the concept of a hero is basically the most dangerous thing. And I love that quote. I can't believe I forgot to mark it. And it just kind of leads to this tragic tale in this book. That's just really interesting. Mm. Oh, and another thing I feel like he kind of failed in getting that message across is that the book kind of ends in a pretty good note. Like I kind of a happy ending in a sense, because you get out you get the whole battle of it all. You get the fight between Paul and Fade, and then at the very end, they're just kind of like he just goes up to Jessica and Johnny is like, "All right, time to negotiate like what we want and everything." And I don't know, it was just a happy
And then
note.
also the everybody accepts Paul as like
The leader,
yeah.
as a leader and everything, and you know, he basically says like, "Yeah, we're gonna get everything we want. Everyone's gonna, Arrakis belongs to the Fremen."
Yeah. Like there was
Stilgar.
nobody opposing them,
Mm-hmm.
which is strange. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess it's not strange, but it is very like, am I supposed to be okay with it?
Yeah.
Like,
Especially, this moment was kind of tragic, but also I find it really interesting. Um, Basically, he has to marry the emperor's daughter and all that, and he's just kind of like, it's like, yeah, she's gonna have my name, but nothing else. First of all,
yeah,
what the fuck? I felt
yeah.
really bad for the princess in that moment because she's just like, she's gonna get
All right,
nothing.
all right.
Yeah, but then you know, Shani was kind of sad about it because she was just like, oh, but I'm just gonna be seen as your concubine and all that, blah blah blah. But Jessica goes up to her and she's like, it's like, no, like in the history books, we're gonna be seen as wives to powerful men, basically, you know.
Mhm.
And I feel like as much as I love that line, the ending, um, that's still a happy note, and I just don't know how to like take that information. Like, okay,
Yeah,
is this supposed to be
I think
cool?
that that change with Chani in the movie
Best thing.
was very necessary, and
Yeah,
it helps because again in the book there's nobody really.
opposing him. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
I mean except for the emperor, except for you know, the baron and all that, but those are like
yeah, but they're
they're seen as evil, right?
yeah,
um so it's like it's not the same, whereas in the movie Chani the whole time is like,
she's warning us like they're
yeah,
going to use this to enslave us. And also, she does have a point. It's like if anyone's going to free us, it should be someone from our world, you know,
yeah,
like
because then
someone.
we're just following somebody else that's
Yeah.
not us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're trapping ourselves into another thing that, you know, doesn't belong to us, doesn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, and I know that like obviously like that complicates things when, you know, the third movie comes out, the Messiah one. And I know a lot of people were bothered by it, but
I think it was
for
necessary.
me, now that I've seen the movie and I've read the book, I think that it helped.
Yeah, it
Um,
was. I think it was a very necessary change, and I don't know who else would fill that role, because yeah, because Gurney, he is like incredibly faithful to
yeah, Paul
to Paul
Atreides.
Atreides, to the Atreides house and all that. The only one maybe would have been Hawat, but he wasn't. He's kind of useless at the end. Like he just dies, literally just
Yeah.
drops dead in the book. So like I don't really know what else you can do with them. And so yeah, Chinese change from the movies was honestly very necessary. She's literally the one telling you like this can lead to bad things and all that. And it is honestly like after I didn't finish the book, but when we saw it with Dad in the theater, like I was almost crying at the end because I was like, "This isn't good." like
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
like this.
It makes you feel icky. It makes you
Yeah,
feel like,
it's all, and it's really sad too, especially when you see Stilgar. You know, it's like Lisa Al Gaib and all that,
yeah,
and it's kind of
his
like,
I think his character in the books and in the movies is so interesting. Um in the movie, you know, he's kind of this comedic relief, but like when you think about his character, at least in the movie, more deeply, you're kind of like, oh shit. Like,
and again, it's just sad because this is a man of faith, but you really do feel like he's putting his faith in the wrong hands
yeah.
and all that. And you almost wish you
You kind
like
of want to shake him and be like, "Stop it!"
yeah,
Like,
it's like
you know.
it's a weird thing because like I don't want to break his faith, but at the same time, like I kind of wish he would be more. He would think about this more, you know,
Yeah, or more open to more ideas.
open to more ideas for sure. I don't know. It's just
Listen to Chani a little bit more.
yeah, I don't know. Just the last time we saw it, like
Yeah.
it really affected me. That ending, it's just insane. But that was a fantastic book. We
Yeah.
skipped a lot of stuff. I love the Emperor. I really wish. What's his name? Who played him?
Christopher Walken?
Christopher Walken had a lot more lines. When I was reading his lines in the book, all I can imagine was him. Like he would have absolutely killed it. He would have like seen more. I guess powerful in a sense. Like he would have.
You would have understood why he was the emperor.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And also, I just really like this conversation with him and the Harkonnen, Baron Harkonnen. I was gonna say Duke Harkonnen. I'm like, no, that's not it. And he's just kind of like not taking any of his bullshit. Basically, I just find it hilarious, and I love the moment though where he gets Aaliyah. They tell us that he captured her and all that, and he's actually having conversation with her. Like he's just kind of like, wait a minute, what? Like.
Yeah.
Like even like as
I love the sister. I think it like everything with her. I think is so funny because
for
everybody's literally like, "What the fuck?"
You're not supposed to be like. And it's so funny though too because I recently listened to a podcast where these guys go, "I don't know why, but I really hate it when kids try to sound smart." And like, but like what they're talking about basically how Aaliyah is in the book, where like you see like some 5-year-old and they're talking about certain things that you just no kid should really be talking about, like political stuff, even in a sense, and they get so annoyed. I'm just kind of like, man,
But I like that even like the Fremen are like
weirded out.
like
Yeah,
what is going on? It's just so funny.
for sure. And I almost wish we had her in the movie just because I think it would have been hilarious. Also, I imagined, I mean, she's too old now, but I imagined McKenna Grace.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that was basically her character in Gifted. The one with Chris Evans and her. I was just basically thinking of her the whole time. It was funny. But yeah, I understand why that was sticking out. It was very short. And I like that they used it. He used the pregnancy to like show us how much time passed.
Because I feel like if it would have been like a kid, it would have been funny. It would have been cute.
Yeah.
Whereas and it wouldn't have had that same effect of like being like creeped out by it. Whereas if it being like the embryo was very much like
yeah, there was a mystery to it almost.
We still had that same effect.
Yeah. Did you have you seen clips of the original Dune movie?
Yes. Yeah, and she's like,
yes. Oh my god, it was hilarious.
That's what I mean. Like, it would have been funny.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been serious at all. I hope they added it on Messiah at least. If they make the yeah. I don't think it's been greenlit yet, Messiah.
I think it has.
It has?
I think so.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be either way. Fucking, how much did this movie make already? 400 million?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, out of a $190 million budget.
Mm-hmm. They're doing pretty good.
They're great. So I hope we get that at least in Messiah. I hope we don't just like skip to her being grown up or anything. Like, nah, I want to see like the progression of it. I'm very
interested to see like what's gonna happen and how they're gonna portray. I honestly do think that they're gonna get some elements of Messiah, but I do think that they're gonna skip over to the children of Dune. Or maybe come up with something of their own. I don't know. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. Especially with Chani. Like, I can't wait to see what they do with her. I'm so excited.
For sure. What else did we skip over? Yeah, the battle was like, I felt like the battle was shorter than the movie. But I mean, that was still such a great scene in the movie that even though it's short, and I mentioned it before, like yeah, it's short, but it's not supposed to be this big epic moment or anything like that. It's supposed to be sad. Like
Mhm.
Paul manipulated these people into fighting.
Mhm.
Um,
And that's something that I find interesting. I thought I was gonna get more answers in the book, uh, but I feel like it kind of ended up the same. Where I am kind of like, did he plan this the entire time? Like,
mhm.
what? Like, does he actually mean to like when he says that he's one of them, or is it like you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, there's
it's
still
just
a mystery to that. Like, did he do this when he tried to like learn it from their ways? Did he actually do it because he wants to gain their trust, or
because if he was like genuine about it, or
or
was
does he
this just a
just?
part of the plan that he came up with a
hmm
long time ago? Like, it's just, yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
still
interesting.
feel that way. I still feel that way. Um, but I mean, I guess it doesn't matter in the end because regardless,
He got what he
it
wanted.
is, yeah.
Because
Uh,
regardless if it, I mean, I think to me it was very clear in the beginning that he just wanted to do this to get revenge for his dad.
mhm.
Like I don't. To me, I don't think he wanted the holy war or like take over
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the entire thing, but he just knew like the only way to get revenge for his dad is to go after the emperor himself, because the emperor did do all of this.
yeah.
This was the cause, so there was sort of, in a sense, no choice of that
In his mind.
in his mind. Yeah. um
Yeah, it's very interesting, and
mhm,
I enjoyed every second of it.
for sure. I don't think we ever know, did we go over Jessica and Gurney conversation? I feel like I
We
skipped
kind
it.
of well, we kind of brushed through it, but
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Yeah, I feel like I did skip it. I don't know. Sorry we brought it up twice, but yeah, I love that conversation where Gurney thought she was a traitor, and as soon as he got close to her, he was just like, get the knife to her back, like don't fucking move, or else, and all that. And he wanted Paul to hear it. It's like, hey, your mom betrayed us. Like she was the one that got your dad killed, and so that was an intense moment
I
because.
I I I love that moment for different reasons. I
Mm,
love um that even after everything that has happened, Paul still is like, that's my mom,
hmm
right? I love that Gurney is very much like, she's a traitor, she killed my guy.
hmm
Um, but then I also love what Jessica sees in Paul, and she says he's never talked about his dad that way, or I've never heard him talk about his dad, or he just says something around those lines. And she just like gets emotional and like,
hmm
right? Yeah, it's a good moment.
Oh yeah, it's a great moment between Jessica and Paul, because that just really connected them in a different way than before. Because before it was just like, it's you and me, against everyone
Yeah, yeah,
else,
yeah.
like we gotta survive. But then this moment, it was just like, oh wait, hold on, like
I put you through so much.
we've put each other through so much and all that. And I don't know, it's just this is a different kind of connection that they've had before. Basically, it's just something completely new. But then I also love the Paul with Gurney, where he was
Oh
just
yeah.
like, hey, like I understand why you thought this. My dad technically was pushing it, but you still did this out of loyalty, and
hmm
for him
When
right
he
here
was
on
like,
out,
please kill me,
I
and I
know
was like,
it's
"Daddy."
just like this is the worst day of my
And then
life. I'm so sorry.
what did Jessica says something? One of them says something and is like, why do you wish to put us through more like death?
Yeah,
Basically something like
yeah. It's like we just, especially she's like, we just got you. Like
yeah.
we're not gonna lose you right away. Come on, man. And I don't know. To me, it was just like, I don't know why in my head I was imagining it like they were holding each other's hands, like, "Hey, it's us now. Like we're together on
Yeah.
this." Like that's
Uh-huh.
how I was imagining it, but I don't think that's how it went in the book at
No,
all.
but yeah, it's
Especially
that
with Gurney, he would not do that. He would not be holding your hands or anything like that. But I don't know. I just, that moment though, that was really the moment where it's like we're family. Before it was just
mhm.
like we're loyal and all that, but it's like no, this one's like we're family. Like we've all we're all we got.
Yeah, basically.
It's so good.
And then that's also like the moment that Jessica's like, if you want to marry Chani, like do it, right? Uh-huh.
Yeah, she was like, I don't want you to.
Which is that's something that we didn't get in the movie. Like
hmm
I guess them forgiving each other for all of it.
For sure. Huh. I think that's pretty much it for the plot.
Again, it ends on a happy note. It's just so
Yeah,
strange.
that's gotta be the biggest critique. Honestly, it's like, why if you want to portray Paul as a villain, why would you end on a happy note? You
Yeah, but
know, like,
again, we did get Messiah because of that. Because
and I'm curious, like, what that's gonna be like reading it eventually when we get to it. I don't know, but yeah, I am excited to read that, and I am excited to hopefully see it one day in the theaters. So we shall see. Actually, one thing we didn't bring up, those things in the beginning of every chapter, Princess Irulin's note.
Irulan,
Oh, is that her name?
Princess Irulan,
Irul. What? Oh my!
Irulan.
Wow!
No, I think I'm pronouncing it wrong too, but it's not how you said it.
Wow. Okay. Well, screwed up on that one.
Irulan.
My bad. Anyway, basically we get excerpts, I guess, from her side of the story, of like her side of what she saw in Paul afterwards, especially during their marriage and all that. Um, I think there was only one that I noted down, honestly. Yeah, there was only one that I noted down. That I just found it super interesting, and it actually gets brought up later. Because right here, the one that I noted down was 234. That's the page. It's kind of long. Muad'Dib could indeed see the future, but you must understand the limits of this power. Think of sight. You have eyes, yet cannot see without light. If you are on the floor of the valley, you cannot see beyond your valley. Just so, Muad'Dib could not always choose to look across the mysterious terrain. He tells us that a single obscure decision of prophecy, perhaps the choice of one word over another, could change the entire aspect of the future. He tells us, the vision of time is broad, but when you pass through it, time becomes a narrow door. And always he fought the temptation to choose a clear, safe course, warning, that path leads ever down into stagnation. That was my favorite one, because it's really interesting how he has to choose the different timelines that he sees and all that. He can't just he sadly cannot choose the safe route, because the safe route means that they just do nothing. Mm-hmm. And also, time becomes a narrow door. That one, he does say that in the movie, where when he finally drinks the Gatorade, he has, yeah. But I do see a narrow way. Yes. You know that. It was funny. And then,
which I think does get brought back in one of the later books.
Okay. And then this line, the path leads ever down into stagnation. He does say that later on in the book. I did not note it down, sadly. But that was the moment where he had to decide, like, should I take these people to attack the Emperor and all that? And he had to, because if he doesn't, there's just not going to be any progress. He has to attack.
Yeah, but it's also like this conversation of like, who is he to decide this? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting. Like, it really gets you thinking of like, I think like the most interesting conversation to have about this book is the fact that the prophecy did become real. And you do get this thing of like, shit, like, so he was right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's like, no, like, he's not. So yeah, I like, it kind of shows you like, obviously, like, everything is not always black and white. Mm-hmm. And I love stories like that makes you think, and makes you question, and makes you be like, okay, this is bad, but then it's also like, what kind of person are you? Right? Mm-hmm. It's just so interesting.
I'm so glad he said that, because the next book we're going to be reading does that. The next 3 books that we're going to be reading does that. And I think and it does it so well.
I mean, it's in the title.
What?
Chaos Walking.
Oh, okay, yeah. That was yeah. That's the title of the trilogy that we're going to be reading next. The first one is The Knife of Never Letting Go, what then leads to The Ask and the Answer, and then Monsters of Men. But yeah, that one, this book actually does go into that of this whole conversation of, well, it's this annoying thing that happens in the book where the main characters, they are kids, they're like 14, 15, no, 13, 14.
Okay.
It's important that I brought that up because I mention that a lot. And whenever they're in certain situations, they talk to the adults and they go, why don't we just do this? And the adults just go, oh, well, it's not that easy. You know, there's like things we got to look into, but it's also like, why can't you just do it? Like, why can't you just give me a simple answer of like yes or no? You know? And then someone else, and then later on, someone else comes in and basically he does the thing that they've been saying this whole time. It's just like, why didn't you do this from the beginning? You know? And so I'm curious if you get that when reading or listening to these books. But yeah, that was Dune. Dune. Yeah, I feel like we could get more and more into it, but yeah, this is a complicated book that I'll probably have to like reread over and over to really like get every single detail of it. I know I said I was reading every single detail of it, but there's too much. Any other thoughts about the book? Anything that we missed?
I'm sure we missed some, but it's fine.
Okay, but nothing stands out to you.
No, I talked about all the things that I enjoyed about the book.
But yeah, that is going to be our next book to talk about, the Chaos Walking trilogy, and we got to read all three of them because Al is going on a trip, and hopefully we can get it out on time, or we shall see. The audiobooks are short, so I don't know. I can finish them in like 2 days if I really like listen to them, you know. And for Red Spotlight, me and Alexis did one. Me and Alexis Soto did. We talked about the Oscars. Well, he talked about the Oscars mainly. He saw the show. I did not see it. I just kind of went, okay, I was happy that this person won. I saw the clips. I'm just Ken. Fantastic. And I just finished editing down our audio commentary for Elemental. That one, as of this recording, will come out like on Monday. As of this recording, it will come out tomorrow, basically. I already set it up for that. But it will be Monday for that. This one, I'll just release it on Wednesday. Screw it. But yeah, and then I'm trying to get something for Quest Center, but we'll see. But yeah, that is our show for today. Thank y'all for listening. Ella, any final thoughts?
Read Dune.
Yeah.
And watch the movie.
For sure. Multiple times, because it's a lot. Thank y'all for listening, and bye-bye.